Extinction is nothing new for this planet. For millions of years, animal species and plants have died off. Take the dinosaurs for example, the biggest mass extinction the world has ever seen, where hundreds of dino species were wiped out. Unfortunately, there is of course no photo or video evidence of these now extinct beasts, and all other animals that went extinct before the invention of photography and video for that matter. But now things are different. For within the last 100 years, we have had more than just fossils of animals that have gone extinct in this period, which unfortunately is a surprisingly large amount. Here are 5 wonderful animals that have gone extinct in the last 100 years or so, and the last photographs and video footage we have of them. As always, enjoy. The Beiji dolphin. The Beiji, or Chinese river dolphin, is the rarest cetacean of all. In fact, nobody has seen a live specimen since 2006, and the presumption is that it's now extinct. This cute bluish-grey dolphin was smallish with a white underbelly and an average length of around 7 feet, weighing between 130 and 320 kilos. Typically, the female was larger than the male, and the species was only found in the Yangtze River in China, where its robust body was perfectly adapted to live in this freshwater system. It even had tiny eyes, as its muddy habitat did not require it to have good eyesight. Its most distinguished feature was its very long and narrow beak-like nose, which had the tip curved upwards. Sadly, since China became industrialized and many cities along the banks of the Yangtze River prospered, the river dolphins began to decrease drastically. This was mainly due to illegal fishing, pollution, collisions with boats, and construction of dams that separated populations, and by the end of 1980, there were thought to be only 400 left. By the year 2000, just 13 were counted. In 2006, research was carried out on this forgotten endangered species, and not a single dolphin was found in the river. Although there was a reported sighting in 2007 which has gone down as a legend. But there is still hope, as these dolphins are notoriously difficult to observe in their natural habitat, so we can pray they are just being elusive. Although it is feared that we will not see this unusual creature in the wild ever again. The sad truth is, these beautiful creatures may have been driven to extinction by human activity, and all we are left with is photographs. Barbary lions. Barbary, or Atlas lions, once lived in the deserts and mountains of northern Africa. These majestic beasts were admired for their dark manes and golden fur, and were favourites of Moroccan royalty, who kept them for their beauty. They even found their way to the UK, and lived briefly at the Tower of London. However, it was probably the Romans who did the most damage to the Barbary lions population, as they killed thousands of them in their gladiator battles. The rest of the population was killed off in the 19th century by Western hunters, and by the 1920s it was believed they were completely extinct, although history books claim that the last surviving Barbary lion was killed in Morocco in 1922 by a French colonial hunter. However, that doesn't really add up, as this photo, taken by Marcelin Flandrin in the Atlantis Mountains, was in 1925, and is thought to be the last visual record of a wild Barbary lion. As well as this photo, there have been dozens of other sightings from remote Algerian communities who claim to have seen the Barbary as late as 1965, but this is not confirmed. There are several zoos from around the world who claim to have Barbary lions in their collections, in particular Robat Zoo in Morocco, who say they have over 30 Barbaries that descended from their collections held by sultans and kings. But it would seem tests on some of the so-called royal lions confirmed they are not purebred Barbary. Even if there are a few alive in captivity, which is highly unlikely, this species is almost certainly extinct in the wild. The Thylacine. The Thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, once was found all across Australia. It was a marsupial and resembled a large short-haired dog, mixed with a hyena and a kangaroo, that had yellowish-brown fur with distinctive dark stripes. The stripes were in fact the thing that earned it the name tiger. They stood at around 2 feet tall and weighed around 60 pounds. Over many years, this unusual looking creature was driven to extinction, first by dingoes and then by hunters. There is, however, some remarkable footage of these animals in captivity in Hobart Zoo in Tasmania, although sadly the last known individual died in captivity in 1936. But over the years there have been plenty of sightings of the supposed creature, and this next footage is one of the most convincing. It was captured in 2008 in southwest Victoria, and founders of the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia, Neil Waters, believes that it is a mainland thylacine. Waters said, "It does appear to have its rear hock go flat when it steps, which would give the indication that it has that typical rear foot like the thylacine. If it is rare footage of an actual thylacine, then it's proved the experts wrong, as they have been quoted as saying the odds that these still exist are about 1 in 1.6 trillion. The Laysan Rail. The Laysan Rail, or crake, was a flightless bird found on the northwest Hawaiian island of Laysan. It was just 5.9 inches from beak to tip, with small wings around 2.5 centimeters, making it impossible to fly, but it had strong legs to compensate. It was a mixture of black and brown in colour, with red eyes and a feisty, fearless character. The rail was first threatened when domestic rabbits were introduced to Laysan, and with no means of controlling them, they bred and ate all the vegetation that covered the island, turning the once lush landscape into a barren, dusty place. This destruction caused the extinction of the Laysan honeycreeper and the miller bird. However, the rail managed to survive until the early 1900s, but then started to decline rapidly, and by 1923, only 2 rails could be found on Laysan. This prompted officials to move 8 rails from the nearby Midway, but sadly, at least 2 of them died almost immediately from lack of shelter and food. After this, it's believed on Laysan Island, the rails were no more. However, they were still doing well on Midway. That was until Navy ships during World War II released rats from the ships onto the island. This was a catastrophe for the rails, and they were wiped out somewhere between 1943 and 1944. The destruction of this species is especially unfortunate, as it could have easily been avoided. The Caspian Tiger. The Caspian tiger was one of the largest subspecies of Pantheria tigris, and inhabited forest areas to the west and south of the Caspian Sea in Iran and Turkey, as well as western Central Asia. It was known to be one of the largest cats, although not quite as big as the Bengal. With wide paws, huge claws and powerful legs, it was a truly magnificent beast. It fed mostly on wild pigs, jackals, deer and other small hoofed animals, although if it was hungry, it would attack domestic dogs and cattle. Sadly, in the early 20th century, the tiger was aggressively hunted when the Soviet Union initiated a land reclamation program. As a result of this, the tiger's numbers started to diminish, and in the early 1970s, biologists from the Department of Environment searched for several years looking for Caspian tigers, but did not find any evidence for their presence. After the 1970s, no sightings of the tiger were recorded. However, they were not officially declared extinct until 2003. The sad fact is that the Caspian tiger and other subspecies have been completely wiped off the earth as a direct result of humans, and the remaining 6 species of tigers are also at risk. All we have left are a few grainy photographs, and more distasteful, some stuffed Caspian tigers and rugs. There is a glimmer of hope though, as according to studies, it's thought the genes of the Caspian tiger live on in the Serbian tiger, and it's hoped that one day it may be possible to restore a version of the Caspian tiger. So that's 5 extinct animals and the last photos or video footage of them. It really puts into perspective of how precious life is, and how easily an entire species can be completely wiped from existence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.